Natural law. So, I don't know if you guys ever heard Mark Passio. He just always talks about natural law, the natural forces of this universe, and how everything's constructed. So to me, natural law is a balancing of both sides of the brain to kind of have peace and harmony and unison with the world. You see a lot of people that get so caught up in government. Government says this has to be this way, or they get so caught up in religion. But God said this is it. It's the right brain balance or left brain balance. It's all about balance. All these esoteric teachings are about balancing your life. And so I think really natural law is just aligning yourself in the center and balancing yourself with the world. I know we all want to be free, but I mean, do people think we're really free? I don't. And then how do we get to freedom? What leads to freedom? The quote Mark Passio says, presence of truth and morality in the lives of people in any given society is inversely proportional to the presence of tyranny and slavery in society. So pretty much saying, the more tyranny we have, the less free we're going to be, and vice versa. He's always talking about internal monarchy and external anarchy. And just to be clear about anarchy, it doesn't mean no rules. It means no rulers. So an is the absence of in Greek, and archon is ruler, just like monarchy is one ruler. It's just a difference between who's ruling you. So I think the goal is to rule yourself internally and be free externally and know what's going on. Natural laws do not care about you. They do not care about what you think or how you feel about them. For example, gravity, I have to figure out which one it falls under in the Hermetic principles, but if you walk off a cliff, gravity's not going to go, whoa, 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 dude, you're going to die. It's not going to say anything. It's going to let you die, and that's it. So you align yourself with the forces of nature in this world. To quote Thomas Jefferson, the nation expects to be ignorant and free in a state of civilization. It expects what never was and never will be. Think about that for a second. It's the second president of the United States, founding father, is telling us that we can't be ignorant if we want to be free. I mean, in this day and age, it's impossible to be ignorant in some forms of another, the way things are set up. Like, just look around. It's always do as you're told. I'm an authority figure, more fallacies. Trust me, I know what I'm doing. Don't ever hurt you, and we would never do anything against the will of the people, and trust me, we're definitely not out for profit. That's what you're always hearing from the corporations. It's just not the way things are done anymore. The problem is the United States isn't what it once was. It's now a corporation and conducts business as it sees fit from the corporate structure. When we look at all the problems in the world, how we're just destroying land and people and taking from people, it's because it's now corporate. And I think it was 1932 it declared bankruptcy. It was 20 years after the Federal Reserve, and since that they started using people as collateral. And so that's why there's all these land grabs and money grabs from China and everything, all these, however they could, get a monetary value to our world. Another quote from the Constitution says, whenever form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to abolish it. That's from the Constitution. So I want to read the first quote from the Declaration of Independence, or the first paragraph of the Declaration of Independence. It says, when in the course of human history it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another, and to assume among them the powers of the earth, and separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and nature's God entitle them, a decent respect of opinions of mankind requires that they should declare the causes which impel them that separation. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, and they are endowed by the Creator with certain unalienable rights. That among them are life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. You guys have all heard this. So it's kind of in the very first paragraph of the Constitution. It's telling you right there, if you're going to separate from nature, you better have a goddamn good reason to do it. And secondly, it's telling us that we all have, that our rights are given to us from not man, not something else. It's not, men do not have the power to give us rights. I can't say it's okay to kill you or whatever right you want to give. Gnostic tradition, which is kind of the early forms of Christianity, it's the way I took it. Quote, it's from the Dead Sea Scrolls. It says, the law of nature was before judicial and municipal laws of and is immutable. The law of nature is that of which God, the time of creation, the nature of man infused in his heart for his preservation and direction. And that this eternal law, moral law, is called the law of nature. It makes me wonder, because, I mean, if anyone would have known me before, I'm here trying to talk about natural law, I really didn't care about any of this stuff. I was very much part of that system, part of the problem. And something just changed. Overnight, I swear to God, it happened overnight. And I started to really look into this stuff, wanted to figure out what I didn't know. And it just kind of happened. And so for me, it's interesting because what did happen? Was it nature? Was it something guiding me in the right direction? I don't know, but it seemed like it was a natural change. So kind of put the Trivium method into it, like who is natural law? Well, I mean, it's a lot of people that you could read about that talk about it are Socrates, Aristotle, Cicero, Thomas Aquinas, Francisco de Vittoria, who I actually don't know who he is, Thomas Jefferson, Mark Passio, any of the founding fathers, they all speak about natural law. What is it? Well, it's derived from the Egyptian word neter, so N-T-R, and it means the spiritual domain. And then A-L is an English suffix, which means of or related to. So natural means of or related to the spiritual realm. So the literal translation of natural is the things that we don't see, or whatever we want to define as spirit or God. Everyone has their own interpretation, but it's the force of creation. That's what I always thought of it. And then natera is Latin for conformity with nature by birth. It's also called many other things, like karma. You reap what you will sow. The law of cause and effect, which will be a Hermetic principle, which every action there is an equal and opposite reaction. The golden rule, do unto others as you want done to you. You know, where is it? It's everywhere. It's the boundaries of this universe. It's what we cannot change. It's immutable. The laws of this world. And when? Yesterday, tomorrow, today. You know, it's always. There's nothing we could change. And why do we want to learn it? Is we want to learn it so we want to learn and understand the nature of the world, no pun intended, so that we could live in our lives accordingly and kind of just balance this world to the way it should be. You want to create internal monarchy and external anarchy, kind of what I was saying. Man cannot change laws. That's another important point, that no one has the right to delegate a law. If you justify a law, I don't know the etymology of justification here, but justification literally means to create a law out of thin air. It's not right. And then, I mean, what exactly is natural law in terms of, you know, what you can and cannot do? It's very simple. You cannot murder and assault. You cannot rape. You cannot steal. You cannot trespass, and you cannot coerce. All other laws are redundant. You don't need any other laws after that if you follow those basic principles. Taxation, for example. You know, for example, I just got paid. I'm paying off taxes from last year, like $700. They take like $1,200 out from taxes, and the money I have left over gets taxed God knows how much. So after it's all said and done, it's like, I mean, it's almost half, if not more. So it's kind of a long-winded quote, but this is from Mark Passio, who I really respect, and his take on taxation. So taxation is the claim that a group of people that call themselves government have been given the right to compensate an arbitrarily chosen percentage of the product of another individual's labor, whether or not the other individual agrees to share that product voluntarily. Taxation is enforced by threat of violence and imprisonment of those whom the product is being seized attempt to resist. The practice is always justified by those who claim the practice is necessary and required to uphold the common good. If we define slavery as the involuntary confiscation of 100% of the product of the labor of another human being, then we could clearly see there is no magical percentage to which we can lower that number that no longer constitutes slavery. If we are being honest with ourselves, taxation is merely a euphemism for theft, violence, and slavery the practice are actually based. Since no individual on earth has the right to claim ownership of the product of another's labor, such behavior can never be delegated and turned into a right. Therefore, all forms of taxation are always wrong in accordance to natural law. And then prohibition is another one that they claim. You know, if I go to whatever state marijuana is legal, I get caught, they throw me in jail because I'm smoking a plant. I'm not harming anybody. I'm just doing what I feel like I want to do. It's not hurting. I mean, I don't understand prohibition whatsoever.
But if you work for Wells Fargo and you own the bank, you can rob the whole country and you get paid.
Exactly.
It's fucking bullshit, right?
But hey, that's illegal.
If I walk down the street, kick you in the balls and take your wallet, I'm going to go to jail. But this guy kicked the entire country in the balls and he's getting a bonus. It's like, you know, that's why we're here to talk about that kind of shit.
And people like vehemently, well, he's a CEO. He has so much work. He doesn't know what's going on. He can't control. Everyone's like, yeah, but it's just.
He's not even doing anything.
It's all based in, you know, wrong. I remember hearing it, kind of get off topic, but I remember hearing that inherently capitalism, everything is wrong, or there's always going to be deficits. So like when they say, oh, money made someone evil, it's not necessarily money. It's just that. That's why I work for PG&E. All they give a shit about is their shareholders. Nothing else. They can talk about safety all they want. All that matters is they want their shareholders to make money, and that's what we do on a daily basis. So you know, it gets to the point where it's like, what are we really doing here? You know, and
keeping the system going, right?
Exactly. And then going back like free energy or something like that. You think PG&E is going to allow something like that? Yeah, right.
No.
Yeah.
It's all blocked. I always try to look at these websites when I'm at work because I got to do it all on data now. But like if I go to like some Tesla site or something like that, something like, you know, promoting something like that, blocked. I can't live there. So yeah, it's freedom. Prohibition. Prohibition is the claim that a group of people who call themselves government have been given the right to prevent others from putting substances into their own body. If others refuse to comply with those terms, they will be fined or imprisoned. It should be self-evident that an individual body is actually their own property, and that individuals always maintain the right to decide what's put into it or what isn't. Understanding this, we can easily see that the claim to the right to command What will or will not be put in someone's body amounts to the claim of ownership of someone else's body. The claim of ownership of someone else's body is called slavery. Therefore, prohibition is merely a euphemism for slavery, backed by violence, regardless of the justification made by those who claim such practices are necessary for the common good. Since no individual anywhere on earth has the right to claim ownership over another person's body, such behavior cannot be delegated to a group to be called a right. Therefore, all forms of prohibition are always wrong in the course of natural law. Like I said, I mean, we know things. Like if I want to go back to the bathroom real quick, get some liquid plumber, some razors, you know, put it all in a little cup and drink it, that's my right. No one can tell me what to do, you know, but if I were to, and I'd go to the hospital, everything fine, but I went back there and got absinthe. I think absinthe's still legal. Then I could be in trouble? Like, what is this? What are we doing? You know, so it's kind of the essence of natural law, is that you rule yourself, but in accordance of nature. You don't hurt, you don't harm, you don't take. It's very simple. It's really just the morality, the difference between right and wrong. And the fact that we have to have something called natural law to discuss the differences between right and wrong has shown us just how far we've fallen. You know, in the great work, you always hear, if you're looking at esoteric studies, the great work is always talking about trying to find that path to truth and enlightenment. So I'm going to quote the Bible here. Jesus, referring to truth, says that you always want to follow truth. He's in reference to himself. This is Matthew verse 10, 34 through 39. So he says, "Do not suppose that I've come to bring peace to earth. I did not come to bring peace, but a sword." And I think he's talking about words that you were saying earlier. Yeah. "For I've come to turn man against his own father, daughter against his own mother, daughter-in-law against his own mother-in-law. A man's enemies will be members of his own household. Anyone who loves his father or mother more than me," truth, "anyone who loves his son or daughter more than me will not be worthy of me. And anyone who does not take the cross and follow me, he's not worthy of me. Whoever finds his life will lose it. Whoever loses his life for my sake will find it." So I think what he's telling me right there is align yourself with truth. Trust truth. Even if it's somebody close to you, you need to know that it doesn't always make it right. And then Carl Jung, one does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making darkness conscious. The latter procedure, however, is disagreeable and therefore not popular. So and that's how I always think. You just got to be talking on the Trivium thing. You try to make the subconscious conscious. Bring light to these thoughts that we have in us, and all these different programs we've installed in ourselves that we don't even know what is true. So kind of, and then so the Hermetic principles, which Shale's going to talk about in a little bit, are kind of.
We just pull it up.
Yeah, we can pull it up.
We'll transition into that.
Just put it over here.
Yeah, here, right here. So maybe just lay it right here.
Put it on the bottom so we can still see the. I can't really see it.
But Hermetic principles, I think,
Bring the
are
other one up if you want.
kind of closest to us because I think we've been heavily influenced by Hermeticism, Greek and Roman. But they're not the only people that have ever talked about laws of the universe. Ancient Egypt, Kamisha, Kem, whatever you want to call it, they have a god called, or goddess. It's always goddess when it comes to Egypt, called Mot, Mot is like the goddess of truth and justice, and she has her seven principles, which are divine law, truth, justice, righteousness, harmony, reciprocity, and propriety. They're not laws, and that's the thing. I think people always understand, like, you have to do things this certain way. No, that's not how it is. It's just a principle, and a principle comes before anything else. Tarot. You guys have ever studied the tarot? The tarot, the Cabal, Masonry, all these things, they're all telling the same thing. They're teaching natural law in one way or the other. But the first card of the tarot is the Fool, because you have to be foolish to come in this. You have to be a fool to come in this reality and try to figure out what's going on. But the final card of the major arcana is the Justice card. So it's the major arcana, minor arcana, be the law of correspondence on this. So I'll say, but it's natural law. It's the balance of the universe. He goes. So another quote: "Focus today is on justice, the card, the law of reciprocity, and several others of the laws of the mind to understand divine metaphysics. Justice does not care who wins or loses, only that the results are completely balanced and fair. Sentences pass neither favor nor disfavor. The sword symbolizes the notion that justice can be severe. The scale symbolizes that justice is balanced. The sword also represents thought, words, actions to align with the laws of the mind, mentalism, and are conveyed to the scales of justice. The mingling of these two images create a sense of perfect balance. Justice epitomizes that concept. And if you lay out the tarot over the tree of life in the Kabbalistic tradition, you see that they all go hand in hand. I don't know enough about the tree of life to really get too into it. The words are tough. It's different, but it's another thing to look into. And then finally, not the seven, Mark Passy always refers to the eighth principle, the eighth law. That's called the generative principle. Generare in Latin means to create. So it's the principle to have the true care, like to really want to do something and put yourself into something. Like everyone here has that principle. You wouldn't be here if you didn't want to. You want to put care, you want to learn, you want to try to, take that next step into truth. And that was my take on the generative principle. The big G, and I don't know if you guys ever seen the square and compass in masonry. The G, and then they say after the 33rd degree, that's what it means, is the generative principle. You'll hear all sorts of different things that it means God, whatever, but that's kind of what I took from it. So, and then that's pretty much it.
Well, G is also the 7th letter in the alphabet too, which ties back to the 7 liberal arts.
Oh, that's interesting.
The what alphabet?
Cool.
It's the 7th letter in the alphabet,
7.
so it ties right back to the 7 liberal arts. But yeah,